So today I'm delighted to welcome Melissa Snover to the Growth Room podcast. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Our pleasure. So Melissa is the CEO and founder of Rem3dy Health, a pioneering health tech company transforming personalised nutrition. You're an award-winning entrepreneur with nearly 20 years experience. You have 29 patents and achieved the largest ever UK seed round raised by a female founder. Your brand is Nourished, and that you are the creators of the world's first 3D printed personalised gummy stacks. And you won the King's Award for Innovation in 2023. Melissa, you're also a strong advocate for women in tech and investment.
I am.
Welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about your company and your brand?
Sure. So Rem3dy Health is a technology developer with 3 sites across the Midlands, focused on developing additive and advanced manufacturing technology and combining that with really cutting edge proprietary material science encapsulation and AI-driven recommendations to allow for people, everyday people, consumers, and also patient care providers to be able to access personalized nutrition. So we now have 29 patents. We actually build all of our own manufacturing equipment, and then all of the products that we make are made on proprietary machinery that we actually made ourselves. So it is a full stack in the truest sense of the word. Basically, up until the point when we launched, pretty much all nutrition, supplementation, and medicine was pretty close to a one-size-fits-all. You know, are you a man or a woman? Are you over or under 55? Are you pregnant or not pregnant? Those are like basically the classifications. Yeah. And that just doesn't work in reality because people are not one size fits all. Every single person that we support in our customer base has different needs, different goals, different background health conditions, different lifestyle. And through our technology combination, we're able to take information about them that they provide, that wearables provide, and then benchmark that against one of the richest data lakes of consumer health data, 150,000 clinical trials, to then produce a recommendation of 7 nutrients at specific dosages, which are best suited to them. They then choose a flavor, and our 3D printers get to work, making a product totally bespoke and tailored just for them. This not only results in a huge amount of engagement with the customer, but because the products are delicious and enjoyable, they adhere to it. And because it has the right stuff inside, they actually feel a benefit. And one of the things that I'm the most proud of in all of the stats that we've been able to accumulate is that 95% of our customers feel a benefit from our product within 15 days. And that is very different from a normal experience of a one-size-fits-all.
So Melissa, in layman's terms, how would you best describe the final product of your layered vitamins and how do you perfect the taste?
So Nourished is a gummy vitamin, but it's made up of 7 unique layers in a heptagonal shape. So it really is a stack. That's why we call them stacks. Each one of those individual layers has either one ingredient or a group of ingredients, and each one of those layers is optimized for flavor and potency based on the ingredients inside. We have a really cool material science technology that basically encapsulates and rapidly sets so that when one layer has been laid down, the next layer goes on top and doesn't in any way interfere with the other layers. This is important for quality, but also for degradation and loads of other things that traditional gummy vitamin production just doesn't allow for. When you see the product, it looks like a rainbow colored stack, and every individual person's is totally unique. So your colors and the layers that you get will be totally different from your friends, from your family members.
Wow, incredible. So you've obviously come a long way over a relatively short period of time, but what did entrepreneurship look like for you before Nourished?
So I actually became an entrepreneur quite accidentally when I was in university as part of a management school project. So I was actually training I was pre-law, because in America you have to go to a secondary school for law. But when I got into it and I got into the problem solving and disrupting and creating better solutions that are meaningfully different and solve people's problems, I totally fell in love with this. And this just doesn't apply to a specific industry or sector. This is a mindset that I fell in love with. And so In 2010, I created the world's first vegan allergen-free gummy candy. Because I was a vegetarian, this was well before there was a lot of choices. And the only thing I missed being a vegetarian was gummy candy. It says a lot about how bad my diet was back then. But I couldn't find anything that was on the market that was really bouncy like a traditional gummy, but not made with animal gelatin. And so I started developing that on my own. Now that concept itself was completely new to me. I had never done food technology. I'd never done manufacturing. I'd never done marketing. I'd never done branding, international distribution. I had to learn all of that myself. So when I think about what entrepreneurship meant to me before Rem3dy, entrepreneurship is finding or seeing, you can't really ignore it once you see it, seeing something that in the market where there is an unmet need or an underserviced need and not being able to rest until you find a solution. That is, I think, the most pure sense of the entrepreneurial spirit.
And that initial spark apparently came at an airport.
Yes, for this company, yes, it did. So when I was in an airport on my way back from launching another concept that I had already pushed into the market, I had a, quite rudimental Ziploc bag full of vitamins in my carry-on bag. I was in Dusseldorf airport and I went to take my laptop out and unzipped my laptop. And I just happened to be very unlucky and the zipper caught the Ziploc bag and just ricocheted all the vitamins all over the floor. And so when I was on my hands and knees on the floor of the airport with a bunch of very disgruntled, German travelers behind me, I remember thinking, this is horrible. And also, surely there must be a better way. And then I thought, oh my gosh, we have a 3D printing food business. I wonder if we could do something different. So on the way home on the plane, I drew pictures and pencil drawings of what I wanted to create. The next morning, I went into the business and I said, by all hands, we're changing everything. We're going to do something different. And that's where the dream and the vision of Nourished was born.
And were there any early mistakes or learning moments that you'd like to share?
So absolutely, there are 100 mistakes, maybe even every week, but I don't really think about them like that. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they decide to be a founder or decide to be an entrepreneur is they think that failure is a negative thing. In my part of the world and in what I do, which is very research and development focused, failing is actually a really crucial and important part of the journey that you go through in order to develop something totally new. Every time we try something and it doesn't work, it basically eliminates a pathway of options that we could have continued down and narrows down on the selection set of the true answer and how we're going to get there. And so when I think about mistakes, I don't think I've actually made any mistakes. I did things that didn't work and I learned from them, and that helped me to get to the final answer or the best answer. And so I see them as learning experiences.
Maybe that's a British mindset we need to dump. And obviously your accent tells us you're not from Birmingham, the West Midlands, but you found a home here and a business home here. So why is that?
I absolutely love the Midlands. I actually came to the UK for university, and that was actually in the north. I went to Lancaster. And Lancaster is beautiful, but it's a little sleepy for me. Then I lived in Manchester. Then I lived in London. And so it's not like I've only tried one thing and I like it. I've tried lots of different places. And I really think the Midlands has the perfect combination of, world-class academia, tons and tons of infrastructure and amenities, incredible connectivity to the rest of the country, but also the world. Really, really, really good value for money, standard of living, and also cost to do business. And really the talent pool in this region in particular was what really attracted me to it. So when I set up my first 3D printing business for food, I was very choiceful in picking the Midlands because there are 5 universities within 10 miles of Birmingham City Centre which have postgrad degree programs in additive manufacturing. And that is unique in the world, never mind in the UK or in the area. It's extremely unique, and that has proven to be one of the best decisions that I've ever made. The Midlands is definitely my home. I really, really like the people, the inclusivity, the number of different types of people from all walks of life, peacefully coexisting, collaborating, and living together in harmony. It's really unique, and I think when you live here, you don't realize that. But having lived all over the world, it definitely never is something I take for granted.
Something we probably do take a bit for granted. So just thinking about innovation and technology in your business, how did you go from that idea to product, and how did you protect it? How did you make sure you could capitalize on it?
So, when you're developing a new idea, every new idea and the protection opportunities around what you're developing will be different. When I started Goody Good Stuff in the very beginning, I really came up with a recipe. And I remember a piece of advice that I was given by an incredibly smart man at the time, which was never, ever patent a recipe. You can, but you should never do it. Because by patenting a recipe, you give everyone basically a recipe to copy you, and they can make minor changes to that recipe and they can go to market, which is why, Coca-Cola, et cetera, never, ever. So those are kept as trade secrets. But what I tried to do with this current business was create a combination of different IP sets that would allow us to have a very unique level of defensibility in a very crowded industry, but also allow us a moat of protectedness over and above patents. So today we have 29 patents. Those are across things like machine hardware, material science technology, and process, but we still keep back our recipes, our AI and algorithm codes. Those are all completely trade secrets. And actually we protect them so much that no one actually in the business other than me knows all the parts. Right. So actually even in the production, people only see one part of the recipe. So there's 6 parts and they divide them up so that nobody can see all of it. And I think, that is not because I don't trust everybody. It's because why take a risk? The business's longevity depends on us being able to exist in a market alone. And I think that's an important thing. Very few people can say that I am alone in my market. There is not a 10% plus or minus competitor that you can say is like us. And I think that when you have that, you should try and hold on to it as long as you can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what were your biggest technical challenges then?
Many. Every single technical challenge that we face, that I faced in the very beginning, I faced alone. That was probably the hardest. So when I was building the first ever 3D printer for food, I was buying 3D printers off the internet that were not for food, that were for plastic. I was taking them apart, putting them back together. I had no mechanical engineering training whatsoever. So I was having to literally learn rough and ready how to do that. Electrical engineering, G code. I had to teach myself G code, which is machine driver code, which is not as fancy as Python and all these other codes that are now being done by AI. But that is the code that is powering machines and telling machines what to do in a more simplistic sense. That was the most difficult because I actually was alone in that and I didn't know where to go for some of the answers. And so it probably took me longer than it had to find those answers. However, because I found them myself, I never ever will forget them. When you learn a lesson on your own, you learn it forever. I think now, our business has gone from building technology that, is probably the size of a desk to make products one at a time to developing last year the world's first high-speed personalization line. That line is around 16 meters long. It produces 500,000 7-layer gummies a day, about 4 tons of product. That was absolutely huge as a project. You can imagine the amount of investment, the amount of testing and things that we had to do to make that work. But my team and I came together, and I have to act almost like a psychiatrist sometimes for my team because a lot of them, every time it doesn't work, they get very upset because they want it to work, and I love that. But actually, we have to always remember that it's not about how many times you fail. It's about whether you give up or not. And if you continue, eventually you will get there. And together we pulled each other through that, and we did that. And now that machine has allowed us to double our business last year, double in 1 year, and expand into 11 international markets in a very short space of time. So it has transformed the company today and our potential for tomorrow.
And you talked briefly about advice that you got from outside the company. Obviously, Business Growth West Midlands is all about accessing external support and advice. What external support did you get, and how did it help?
I didn't really get a ton of external support. What I did was listen very closely and pay attention when people with superior expertise took the time to speak to me and guide me. I've never really had a mentor in a traditional sense, but what I have had is the pleasure and honor of working with some of the people that I respect more than anything in the world, who have become quite close friends and who have been very honest with me about tricky topics, right? So I think that that's key. I definitely think people who are just starting out, who don't have any idea what to do, businesses need to get the basics. I didn't need that because of the way that my journey happened, but I think things that you guys provide here, they're so important. How to set up a limited company. These are big to me. It's because I've done it so many times. It doesn't feel like something that needs, but actually when I also mentor young people, I'm actually always a little surprised by how little they know about very basic stuff. And that's really important, because if you have a great idea, but you don't get your basics correct, it's such a sad way to fail. That's such a silly thing. So I think those are really important. And I do think that, in the Midlands, we have such a collaborative spirit. Everybody is willing to help you. I'm always surprised when people reach out to me directly on LinkedIn when I don't know them at all, and they ask me for help, and I do help them. I give them 30 minutes. They ask me questions. I try and give them guidance. And I'm not alone. I know many, many, many other successful founders that are doing that on a regular basis, and I just think our community is fantastic for that.
Definitely. And you talked about international markets, so you're there. Was that always an ambition? How did you achieve that?
Yeah, I can't really get my head around people who are starting companies that they think will be UK only. I mean, why would you do that? The UK is a very important market. It's a very, very important market for tech, the third biggest tech industry in the world, which I think is incredible, and we should be very proud of that. However, it's 60-ish million people. I mean, the rest of the world loves British products, trusts British services, likes dealing with British people. Why would you not want to create a business that has a global initiative from day one? So we launched into the UK for Nourished, the first iteration of Nourished, in January of 2020, about 8 weeks before the first COVID lockdowns. That was an interesting time. It feels quite surreal to remember that. By the end of that same year, we had already launched in the US. The following year, we launched in Japan. And then the subsequent years, we launched into the European markets. Our business is more than 70% export. And I think that is a testament to everything I just said. British products are made in a way that the global community respects and desires. I'm American, right? So this is something that I say it with really true honesty. I go to America and sell the Nourished product, and we put UK made all over it. We put the King's Award all over it. And actually, we get a great response because of the British heritage. And I think that's something that a lot of British people don't use it enough. Yeah. You should use it. People really respect British goods, British services. It's important. Yeah.
Great advice, thank you. And you've had I hinted at it in the introduction, but you've obviously had an interesting investment journey as well. Any thoughts on that, particularly as a female founder?
Yeah, I think it's definitely not a secret that female founders are disproportionately disadvantaged when it comes to fundraising. I'm still amazed that I have that title because somebody should have beat me. That was many years ago, right? That's really disappointing that there hasn't been another person to come along and beat that record. I think, I don't really understand the mindset where people think that it's difficult to raise money from the Midlands or as a female founder. I think it has a lot more to do with your business idea, your business acumen, the way you build your business model. I think one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that, when you are offering an opportunity to invest in your business, you are offering an opportunity. Yeah. You are not begging for money. Yeah. And I think that mindset and the way that you come across matters a lot. I also think that when I first started this business, there was a very, very different set of metrics that were important and attractive to investors than there is today. And I'm much happier with the way it is today. When I started in the beginning, growth at all costs, vanity metrics, right? Turnover is vanity. Profit is sanity. That was not prioritized at all in the beginning. Before 2021, all they wanted to see was that you were going to grow like crazy and keep having to tap into more and more venture capital, go through 7 or 8 rounds. Now, since the huge economic shift has occurred, they're much more concerned with a path to profitability. How long until you can become EBITDA positive? Unit economics. And that suits my business personality much more. And so I think a lot of founders found that really tough because they couldn't switch their mindset. But for new founders coming along, this is traditional business. This is just good business. So I think for anybody who's looking to raise money right now, from the Midlands or anywhere in the UK for that matter, they should take on board that more than ever before, the UK is a super attractive, very stable investment market. A lot of funds, CVCs, et cetera, that have a highly skewed portfolio in America are quite nervous about that, given everything that's recently happened. And I mean, very quickly, rapidly, and changing on a daily basis happen. That instability puts money at risk. And I think that more than ever before, the UK is an extremely attractive place to make investments because of the stability our country has. And so anybody in the UK who's looking to raise money right now, you absolutely should be looking at tapping into US investors, because I think that they're more interested than they ever have been.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thank you. So thinking about the future then, where do you see personalised nutrition going in the next 5 years or so?
So I think, we focus on personalized health. Nutrition is definitely the main focus of our business today. But actually the business has a huge ambition to personalize both preventative nutrition and curative medicinal health. I think as we see the evolution of data and we see the massive amount of data becoming available for individual consumers, but also, end patient providers, doctors, drug companies, we want to be the partner that can take all that data and make a product that is an outcome of that data. At the moment, almost all drugs are made at mass. Very few of them are developed for children. There is a ton of pill breaking. What are we doing?
Crazy.
No, seriously, what are we actually doing? And by utilizing a combination of AI summarized data and individual customer, or not customer in this case, patient health metrics, the doctors and patient care providers and even consumers can actually make things that will be specifically for them. And the potential for that is unbelievable and really has to be part of the future story. So we want to be a part of that. In the shorter term, we are launching into the US, GCC, and MENA regions this year. Humongous growth plans on the docket. And we're also launching personalized pets. So I have 2 dogs. So we'll be doing personalized dog treats with active ingredients specific to your dog's breed, their activity levels, their age, their individual complaints or concerns, and their main food supply.
Wow, thank you. So Melissa, how have you built a team around such an innovative product?
Yeah, that's always been something that I've had in my mind that could be a challenge. And so that's also one of the reasons why we chose the Midlands to set up the very first additive manufacturing for food business. We wanted to put the business in a place where there would be a renewing talent pool to support a huge variety of different roles. So in our company today, we have everything from, entry-level manual labor in the factory to hydrocolloid scientists to mechatronic engineers to marketing to videography to copywriting to quality control, food safety, regulatory, really it is a humongous breadth of different roles. And by being placed here now in the Midlands, we are not only able to tap into the incredibly rich group of smart young people that are coming out of the academia ecosystem every year, and we have a huge number of graduates who come to work for us first, which is amazing because we get to get all their new ideas and innovative mindsets, but we also get to help them to learn in a very, very hands-on, you're valuable from day number one environment. So we're really proud of that. But in addition, because of all the food manufacturing and industrial manufacturing like JLR and Cadbury's and Robinsons and East End, they're all in this area. So we've also been able to find things like operation managers, head of quality control, and those are hard roles to find. They're not the sexy roles, but those are really difficult to find. And so I couldn't be happier that we chose the Midlands. And yeah, our team is over 100 now, and we haven't ever had to use a recruitment agent. So I think it was a pretty good decision.
Yeah, that sounds like a great decision. So what's next for you and for Nourished?
So Nourished has just come off the back of an incredibly successful year where we doubled our revenue and grew the business substantially. This year will be no different, same again kind of thing. We're going to be expanding into the MENA region, into the United States. We're developing some really cool robotics technology with a view to create at some point in the future a humanless factory. So we're doing it in steps. So we're going to go 5, then, et cetera. And then we're also working on personalized pets.
Yeah.
So personalized pets is a passion project for me, but I also think it will absolutely meet customers' needs. And I think it's something that's not currently being met in the market today.
Just a couple of things maybe for our audience then, Melissa. If you could tell founders to stop doing one thing immediately, what would it be?
So this is a double jointed answer. So stop asking for feedback on your business idea or your product from people that you love, because they will not tell you the truth. With all the love in the world, they will not tell you the truth. You need to ask your real customer, people that don't know you. And then do not stop trying to push your product or your service on the consumer. I see so many people come up with an idea and they get very angry that the customer doesn't like it. That is absolutely the reverse of the correct mindset. The customer, your target market, is the be all and end all. Engage with them, make them part of your creation process, listen to what they say, take all of it on board, don't take any of it personally, and consider it part of a development that you get to make curatively with them.
So Melissa, do you have any advice for those who are new to setting up business? And equally, it'd be really interesting to get your take on how a business might go through their next growth step.
Sure. So I think, when you're at the ideation stage, I think the first and most important thing that you can do is as much research as humanly possible. If you have it within your reach to even set up a fake website and test a product idea and marketing on people without having it ready for sale. This is a really common tactic in Silicon Valley. So that is something you can read about it. You can ask ChatGPT, test your idea and see if it holds mustard. If you are going into a market where there is already an established industry, please, please, please make sure that you can do what you're about to do either at a better price or at a significantly better level than other people out there, because otherwise the world doesn't need more Me Too's, quite frankly. And then tap into the local and national support programs that are available. Depending on what kind of business that you're trying to start, there's going to be a whole variety of specific kinds of support available to you. Obviously, you guys provide that here in the West Midlands. Nationally, there's things like Tech Nation. There's loads. I mean, really, I think we have a humongous amount of support in this country to give people access to information, mentors, go to meetups, subscribe to the Seed Legals mailing list, and go to some of the meetings, watch other entrepreneurs pitch their ideas. But when it comes to your idea, you need to research it and make sure that not only is it needed and going to be useful, but are you going to be able to do it at a price point the market will accept? Because otherwise, it's not ready yet. It's not fully baked. For companies that have already gone through that ideation stage, have started to sell things, whether it's services or products, and they want to take that next step, I think they could very much do with advice from an organization like yourselves. Not every company needs to raise venture capital. Venture capital and entrepreneurship with venture capital has been, glorified by the media. But I meet a ton of very successful entrepreneurs that actually raise money from friends and family, from crowdfunding, from a bank loan, from grants that are available locally. And certainly, it's totally underplayed the value of holding on to as much of your company as possible in relation to your shareholding. So I think looking at the local services available, again, going onto places like Seed Legals, subscribing to their mailing list, going to the meet and greets with investors, getting a real sense of what the funding market is like, and putting together an absolutely bulletproof forecast plan, and then doubling that for the amount of money that you need.
And what's one lesson you'd want every founder to take away that they don't have to do it themselves because you've done it?
Calling back on some of the things I said earlier, you need to fall in love with failure. If you can't do that, that doesn't make you a bad person, but it will make you a bad founder. And so it maybe isn't the right path for you. If you can't move on very quickly and even get excited when you fail, you will find that journey very, very tough.
Brilliant advice. Thank you, Melissa.
Pleasure.
Thanks for being on the
Thanks for
Growth
having
Zone
me.
podcast.